Sirens tear through the night before the first word is spoken. 3 seconds of dead silence. Then the world breaks open. Gunfire erupts under the Prague Bridge. Black vans skid sideways across wet concrete, doors flying open before they stop moving. Masked operatives flood the structure, red laser sights slicing through thick river fog like something alive. Boots hammer steel. Engines roar somewhere overhead. The night has teeth. Malik is already running. Concrete explodes beside him. Soo-Jin grabs his arm. No hesitation, no question, and drags him behind a steel support beam as bullets ricochet like thunder off the roofs. Somewhere behind them, someone screams. Someone falls. Neither of them looks back. Looking back is how you join them. The countdown clock on Marcus's tablet keeps ticking. 1 hour, 11 minutes. Amara's voice cuts through the chaos before anyone sees her move. She slides across gravel on her knees, firing a stolen weapon she barely knows how to use. The recoil slams her shoulder hard enough to stagger her. She doesn't stop. The air is total chaos. Shouting, boots on metal, the high ring of ricochets, engines roaring somewhere overhead in the dark. Then the helicopter arrives. A spotlight floods the bridge in blinding white, washing out every shadow, every hiding place, every advantage they had left. The beam sweeps once, twice, then locks. They found them. Dr. Chin doesn't flinch. She watches the light with the stillness of someone who has already run the calculation. Extraction teams, she says quietly. Not ours. Malik pulls Soo-Jin flat as a grenade detonates near the entrance, smoke swallowing half the structure in a single breath. Through the haze, silhouettes advance with mechanical precision, not rushing, not hesitating. Moving the way people move when they've done this before, and they already know how it ends. Soo-Jin gasps, why attack now? Because the core is almost ready. Marcus says, his eyes never leaving the screen, his voice shaking in a way his hands aren't allowed to. They need us alive. Another explosion. The bridge trembles beneath them like something wounded. Then Malik feels it. He stops for just a fraction of a second, one hand going to his chest without thinking. A deep vibration, not in the air, not in the steel inside him. Like his heartbeat reaching out towards something vast and unseen and pulling gently, insistently back. The ground hums. The architect's voice crackles through hacked loudspeakers hidden along the steel beams above them. Calm, almost bored. The voice of a man watching a play he wrote himself. You're early, he says. I expected you to resist longer. Malik looks up at the dark sky. No face to find. No target. Nothing to aim at. Show yourself, he says. The voice replies without a pause. I already have. You're standing inside my design. A sniper round tears through the metal inches from Soo-Jin's head. She fires back before the sound finishes echoing. Her hands shake. Her eyes don't. They move again, sprinting across unstable scaffolding that shudders under every footfall. Below them, operatives swarm across the lower structure like water finding cracks. Above, drones circle in tight formation, patient and mechanical, waiting for an angle. Marcus shouts above the noise. If they reach the center node, they can overload the system. Amara yells back without breaking stride. And if they don't? Marcus doesn't answer. That silence is the answer. They reach the midpoint of the bridge where rusted beams meet a sealed hatch embedded in the concrete. A door that has no business being there, a door that someone built and someone hid, and someone is very glad exists right now. Dr. Chun kneels without being asked. Her fingers move over the keypad with a speed that doesn't quite match her trembling hands. The codes come to her without hesitation. The hatch thinks about it for one terrible second. Then it unlocks. Another barrage hits the structure above. Sparks rain down like dying stars. Go, Dr. Chun says. They descend into darkness just as the bridge erupts behind them. Underground, everything changes. The air is colder. The sounds of the battle above become muffled, then distant, then gone, replaced by something older and more patient. The hum is louder down here. The walls pulse faintly with blue light, rhythmic and slow, like the breathing of something enormous at rest. Rows of servers stretch endlessly in every direction, cables running between them like veins through stone, carrying something that is not quite data and not quite life, but sits uncomfortably between the two. At the center of it all stands a towering neural core, alive with energy, filling the space the way a sun fills a solar system. Not just occupying it, but defining it, pulling everything else into orbit around itself. Soo-Jin stops. For one full second, she forgets to breathe. This is it, she whispers. Marcus stares at the readouts cascading across his screen. It's linking to facilities worldwide, he says. Every node, simultaneously. Malik doesn't look away from a core. Then we sever it, he says. A shadow moves behind them. They feel it before they see it. A displacement in the air, a silence that doesn't belong to the room. They turn together, the way people turn when they already know they won't like what they find. A squad emerges from hidden corridors cut into the walls, so seamlessly fitted that none of them had seen the seams. Silent, weapons raised, moving with the unhurried confidence of people who sealed the exits before anyone arrived. At their head stands a man without insignia, without rank, without any marking that would tell you who he answers to. His expression is unreadable in the way that only comes from years of deliberate practice. Dr. Chen looks at him and says, "The architect's emissary." She says it too quickly, too precisely, as if she already knew his title before he walked through the door. The emissary gestures calmly, almost graciously, like a host welcoming guests who are slightly late to a dinner he arranged. "You've come far," he says. "Now you'll finish the work." Gunfire erupts again, this time underground. The acoustics make it deafening in a way the bridge never was. Every shot multiplies itself against stone and steel and server banks until the sound stacks on itself. Echo on echo, until the noise itself becomes a weapon pressing against the inside of the skull. Sparks shower from shattered panels. Malik tackles Soo-Jin sideways as a blast rip through a server rack beside them, shrapnel singing through the space where she was standing. They scatter behind equipment. Amara finds a ladder bolted to the wall and goes up without being asked, climbing fast toward the control junction suspended above the chaos like a crow's nest above a burning deck. "Cut the power feed," Marcus shouts, tracking her progress on his screen. "I can't find it," she shouts back, hands moving across junction panels in the dark. Below, Soo-Jin grips Malik's hand. The hum surges. Their vision blurs, not separately, not one and then the other, but together at exactly the same moment, as if the same hand reached into two separate skulls and smeared the world sideways simultaneously. Then the memories come. Not just theirs. Hundreds. Thousands. Children laughing in languages neither of them speak. Crying in rooms neither of them have ever entered. Running across ground neither of them has ever touched. The full weight of human experience, compressed and concentrated, crashing through two minds that were not built to hold this much life at once. It is enormous and it is unbearable, and it is, underneath all of that, strangely beautiful in the way that only things which can destroy you tend to be. "This is what he wants," Malik says. His voice sounds distant even to himself. A shared mind. The emissary advances slowly through the active gunfire, moving between trajectories with a calm that suggests he knows where every bullet will land before it leaves the barrel. He is untouched. He has probably always been untouched. "Evolution is painful," he says. Soo-Jin lets go of Malik's hand. She stands, alone, exposed, squaring herself to the emissary across a room full of fire and noise and the accumulated memory of 1,000 lives neither of them asked to carry. "So is freedom," she says. She fires. The bullet grazes his arm. It is not a killing shot, and she knows it and fires anyway, because the point was never the bullet. The point was the choice. The emissary looks down at the graze. Something moves behind his eyes. Not pain, not anger, but the recognition of a variable he had not fully accounted for. For the first time, he reacts. Amara slams a breaker above them. Sparks cascade down through the darkness like a curtain of dying light. The core shudders. Somewhere deep in its architecture, something begins to strain against something else. The core begins overloading. The countdown glitches. The numbers on Marcus's screen scramble and resettle and scramble again before landing on a new figure that makes him go very still. 32 minutes. Then the architect's voice returns through every speaker in the facility at once. Sharper now. The patient's gone, stripped away, leaving something underneath it that sounds almost like urgency. You misunderstand, he says. A pause. One full beat of silence in a room that has forgotten what silence feels like. The core isn't the weapon. Another pause. Shorter, precise as a scalpel. You are. The lights surge. Every panel, every server bank, every strip of blue light in the walls blazes to full intensity at once. And the siblings' hands find each other again. Not by choice, not by instinct, but by force, drawn together by something running through the floor and the walls and the air itself. It's forcing the link, Marcus screams. Dr. Chen moves through the chaos directly to Malik. Her hands find his shoulders. Her eyes are focused and urgent and carry the particular quality of someone delivering instructions they have rehearsed. You must control it, she says. You're the strongest pair. How? Malik says. Feel each other, she says. Anchor the network. A shockwave tears through the facility and knocks everyone down. Not a blast, not an explosion, something deeper than that, a pulse that moves through the floor and the walls and the bodies of everyone standing in a room simultaneously, like the facility itself exhaling with force. Equipment crashes. Panels shatter. The emissary rides it out without going down, absorbing it the way a deep-rooted tree absorbs wind, bending slightly, returning to vertical. He smiles. It is his first smile, and it is worse than all his silence combined. It is the smile of a man watching a mechanism he built engaging exactly as designed. Integration has begun, he says. The core erupts with blinding light. Not the blue pulse of before. Something total, something white and absolute that presses against the eyes like a physical force and fills the chamber from floor to ceiling until there are no shadows left anywhere and the architecture of the room disappears into pure luminance. The camera cannot hold it. No, I can hold it. It is the kind of light that doesn't illuminate things so much as replace them. Above ground, the bridge fractures. The helicopters pull back from the structure as cracks run through the concrete spans in both directions simultaneously, racing each other to the riverbanks. Power grids across Prague flicker, not sequentially, not in a rolling cascade, but all at once, as if the city blinked. The lights of a million windows stuttering in unison, catching the attention of everyone still awake at this hour and making them look up from whatever they were doing without quite knowing why. Across continents, in cities that share nothing but the same dark sky, infants wake simultaneously, not crying, not frightened, simply awake and still and attending to something that has no name yet. The world feels it. Underground, everything slows. The noise, the fire, the gunshots, the collapsing equipment, the shouting, all of it recedes to a kind of peripheral murmur, the way sound recedes underwater, present but no longer primary. What is primary is this. Malik and Soo-Jin, standing in the white light, looking at each other across a distance of 3 feet that feels like no distance at all. She says, "We end this together." They step toward the core, hands clasped, and the light swallows them whole. Then silence. Not the silence between gunshots or the silence between words. The silence that exists before either of those things were invented. Complete and structural, and so total that it has weight. The countdown stops. 0. Everything goes dark. For a heartbeat, nothing exists. Not the facility, not the core, not the city above them, not the network spreading its roots through the bedrock of every continent. Not the team standing in the chamber, not the emissary, not the architect watching his screen somewhere far from here. For one heartbeat, there is simply nothing, a pause between one version of the world and whatever comes next. Then the core restarts. The color has changed. The clinical blue is gone. What replaces it is warmer, more irregular, less like a system running a program and more like something breathing on its own terms. It pulses with a rhythm that anyone in the room with a heartbeat would recognize, because it matches. The emissary's composure cracks. Not completely. Not visibly. Not to anyone who hasn't been watching him closely enough to memorize the geometry of his stillness. But it cracks, hairline and unmistakable, in the half-second before he reassembles himself. Something he did not plan for has happened, and the knowledge of it passes across his face like a shadow crossing a wall. They hijacked it, Marcus says. He is staring at his screen with the expression of a man watching a proof resolve in a direction that overturns everything he thought he knew about the underlying mathematics. Dr. Chun says nothing for a moment. When she speaks, her voice is very quiet and carries something underneath it that is not quite wonder and not quite grief, but lives in the territory between them. They became the signal, she says. A tear forms in her eye. The room reads it as relief. It isn't. Malik's voice fills the chamber. Not through speakers, not through the air. It arrives through the floor and the walls and the servers and the light itself, felt in the chest before it is processed by the ear, the way very low frequencies are felt rather than heard. It is his voice, unmistakably, but is also something larger than his voice, the way a single instrument is still recognizable inside a full orchestra. We are not your system. Energy surges outward from the core in a wave that has no color and no sound, but is nonetheless the most present thing in the room. The core begins collapsing inward on itself, the great architecture of light and heat and networked intelligence folding toward its own center, pulling inward the way a star pulls inward in the moment before it decides what is going to become next. The emissary turns and walks toward the corridor he came from. He is not running. He will not run. But he is leaving, and he is leaving now, and the composure he reassembled 30 seconds ago is doing visible work to hold itself together as he goes. The operatives follow. The corridor swallows them. Then the explosions begin chaining through the facility in sequence, each one triggering the next, a collapse moving through the infrastructure like a sentence reaching its final word. Run, Amara screams. They sprint through collapsing corridors as fire consumes the network behind them. The facility is coming apart in sequence, not all at once, but methodically, each section surrendering to the next in a chain that moves faster than they can comfortably stay ahead of. The ceiling sheds panels. The walls breathe heat. The blue light that pulsed through everything when they arrived is gone now, replaced by the orange and red of something that cannot be reasoned with, chasing them through the dark with absolute patience, because fire does not tire, and fire does not hesitate, and fire has nowhere else to be. Soo-Jin catches Marcus when he stumbles over debris, grabbing his arm without breaking stride, pulling him back into the run before he has finished falling. Malik reaches back for Dr. Chun when she slows, his hand finding her wrist in the dark, dragging her forward into the heat and the noise and the shrinking distance between where they are and where the next explosion will be. They do not speak. There is nothing to say that the fire is not already saying louder. The corridor ends. There is a moment, half a second, maybe less, where the opening appears ahead of them like a rumor, a rectangle of orange sky that could be an exit or could be a trick of smoke and desperate vision. Then it resolves into something real, and they hit it at full speed and burst onto the bridge just as the underground facility implodes beneath them. The sound is enormous. Not the sharp percussion of the explosions that have been punctuating the last hour, but something geological, a concussive depth charge that moves up through the soles of their feet and into their bones and keeps traveling, rattling the fillings in their teeth and the thoughts in their skulls. The bridge surface ripples. Sections of the railing shear away and fall toward the river in silence. The sound of their impact lost in everything else. They stop, not because they choose to, because their legs make the decision independently of anything else, arriving at the same conclusion simultaneously, that they have reached the end of the running, that there is nowhere left to go, that this is the place where the story pauses and takes stock of what it has cost. Flames rise from the fractured ground where the entrance used to be. Sirens layer on top of each other across the city, different apartments, Different frequencies converging on a location that none of their dispatchers have the right category for. The night sky above Prague burns orange. The clouds lift below like the inside of something immense. But the hum is gone. That deep structural vibration that has been running beneath everything since they arrived in this city. Beneath the briefings and the planning and the arguments and the fear, it is simply absent now. The silence it leaves behind is not peaceful. It is the silence of a held breath, a suspended moment, a pause that knows it is temporary. For now, Malik looks at the others. He takes them in one at a time, the way you look at things you were not certain you would get to look at again. Marcus, still holding his tablet, knuckles abraded, eyes red from smoke but tracking, present, alive. Amara, one hand pressed to her shoulder where the recoil has been hitting her all night, jaw set against whatever the pain is doing, not giving it the satisfaction of her face. Dr. Chun, standing slightly apart from the others, watching the flames with an expression that is carefully composed in a way that careful composition cannot entirely hide. Soo-Jin is beside him. Her hand finds his without either of them looking down. They are exhausted in a way that sleep will not fix. They are changed in ways that neither of them has the language for yet. But they are here, standing on a bridge above a river in a city that is waking up around them. Sirens multiplying, lights coming on in windows, the ordinary machinery of consequence beginning to engage. Did we win? Soo-Jin asks. She asks it quietly, not to the group, just to him, the way you ask questions you already suspect the answer to but need to hear spoken aloud by someone you trust. Malik watches the distant lights of the city flickering and stabilizing, the grid reasserting itself, the systems recovering, the network that runs beneath everything resuming its patient, invisible work. No, he says. He says it without bitterness, without defeat, with the particular flatness of someone making an accurate assessment of a situation that is not over. We just made ourselves visible. Asterisk if that line just hit you the way it hit us writing it. Drop a comment below. Tell us what you think Malik meant. Tell us what you think comes next. This story lives in the comment section as much as it lives on this screen. Asterisk, far from Prague, in a location with no name on any map that any of them have ever seen, in a room that is colder and older and more deliberately anonymous than anything the architect has ever built, the screen activates. Not the architect's screen, not his aesthetic, not his infrastructure, not his hand on the controls. Someone else has been watching. The architect, in his own room, in front of his own screens, sees the alert appear in a system he built and therefore believed he controlled. An intrusion. Unauthorized access through the precise gateway that the siblings opened when they became the signal. Something entered the network in that moment of total connection, and it did not announce itself, and it did not leave. He looks at his screen. 2 lines of text. Prototype signal, stable. Secondary observer, connected. He smiles, because smiling is still the reflex, because the habit of confidence is the last thing to go. Then he reads the second line again. Really reads it. Reads what it means beneath what it says. The smile dies. Asterisk, you just watch the most powerful man in this story find out. He is not the most powerful thing in it. If that moment got you, hit the like button. You know when something is built different. This is built different. Asterisk, back on the bridge. Wind moves through twisted steel with a sound like breathing. Dawn is arriving at the eastern edge of the sky. Gray and uncommitted, the kind of light that reveals things without making them easier to look at. The flames are lower now. The sirens are closer. Malik has not moved. He is still watching the city. Beside him, Soo-Jin is still watching him. And beneath the ashes of everything they just burned to the ground, in the deepest architecture of a network that does not need its physical infrastructure to survive, something else begins to wake. It has been waiting for exactly this. It has been waiting for a long time. Asterisk episode 4 is coming. And what wakes next will change everything you think you understood about this story from the beginning. Subscribe now, so you are there the moment it drops. Not after. Not when it's already in everyone's feed. Now, while the ashes are still warm and the network is still listening. Asterisk. Asterisk, welcome to Prototype. Asterisk,